because I almost quit. Like, I almost quit. There was a time in my life where I would never believe that I would be a 3-time author, have my journal deck. I would never believe that I would 28 years in, corporate management. Happy Self-Love Sunday. I am Tarnisha Moe Sass, your host of Self-Love Sundays with Sass, and I am your vision strategist coach who comes every single Sunday so we can talk about all the ways in which we can better our best. And I want to know, because we're starting it off, have you purchased my book, Finding Your Way, 7 Ways to Love and Heal Yourself? You can find us on Amazon. It is a perfect book if you are just getting started on your healing journey, or if you're well in it and you want more clarity. This is a great book to start that. As well as, listen, we talked about the first quarter. Have you been tracking your goals? Because now that we are officially in second quarter, that it's April, and I can't even believe that, have you tracked what you did in the first quarter? It is so important to track where you have been so you can know if you need to make adjustments and what you're going to do going forward. Okay, so Finding Your Way Accountability Tracking Workbook can also be found on Amazon, as well as my guided journal to loving and healing yourself is also on Amazon. It's Finding Your Way, a guided journal to loving and healing yourself. And I'm super excited to announce that my pre-orders are going to begin on my journal card deck. And this is for someone that you want to get started in journaling, or you have been in journaling for a while and you're like, what do I going to journal on? Well, with this deck, you pull a card a day and it asks you some questions and you journal on that question. It helps you dig deeper within yourself, as well as it's going to open up some things in you that you probably have stored away and just not known that it's there. It comes up every now and again. And that's why journaling is important, because it gets what's stored in your body. And sometimes we have lower back pain and knee pain and don't know why. It's because we have things stored up in our body that a question can evoke and open us up to. So that's what this journal card deck is about. And it's getting ready to go on pre-sale. And this will only be on my website, www.mosass.com. Well, let's get into it, because it is second quarter and today is going to be a little bit of a different day for me, y'all. I'm just going to come here and tell you today I'm going to be raw, open, and transparent, because I almost quit. Like, I almost quit. There was a time in my life where I would never believe that I would be a 3-time author, have my journal deck. I would never believe that I would 28 years in, corporate management. Never believed that I would own, my own townhome. This is actually the third home that I've owned. I never believed that I would, coach some of the most beautiful people. I never believed that I could go from being an employee to an employer. There was just times in my life where I never ever believed that I would be successful in all of the endeavors that I've journeyed upon, like being a fitness. I was a fitness instructor for 10 years. Never did I believe I would be successful in all the things that I've done, because we have a tendency to believe, because we come from inner city, for those of you who do, that your environment is going to shape you, and you can never become anything outside of that. Or because you started like I did as a teen mother, on welfare, that's all we would ever be, is just a mother who would, be about the government system. We have a tendency to believe, because, we are divorced, that we're not worthy of love that's greater than whatever the love that we had. We have a tendency to believe that no matter what we do, the thing, because of the hurt and the pain that we've experienced to us, and the hurt and pain that we have done to other people, that we could never be anything more than that particular situation, point in time. I don't know about you, but have you ever had a time when you just felt what am I doing this all for? Like, what is this all about? I get up every single day, and this is for my entrepreneurs, and we're striving, and we're putting out the content, and we're doing all the things they say to do. And yet it's not showing up or happening in the way that we envision it. And listen, I'm a vision strategist coach, right? And part of what I do is help people, with their vision development, I help them understand how future literally is 5 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now. So how do you want to look, feel, and what do you want to do? So when I talk about working with people and helping them fix their vision and helping them come up with a vision for the future, a lot of people think I'm talking about year 2, 3, 4, and 5 from now, but I'm trying to get people to understand that we create the end, but you have to start it today. Right. So, but I just was like, this first quarter, as I'm working on my goals, I just was like, this is a lot. This is a lot. I'm working on my health journey because, if you've been listening to me for a while, you've heard me talk about, being in, menopause. Now, actually, it's still considered perimenopause, and how I just feel completely outside of my body. I feel completely different than I've ever had before. And for those of you who don't believe that hormonal changes will mess you up, listen, leave from listening to me right now, because I don't have time to even explain this to you, that you are wrong. Totally wrong. And everything that I knew about who I was, and I was walking in my authentic self, well, it's different today. Authenticity looks different because I'm growing into this new phase, this new becoming of me. And I'm like trying to figure out that. And then, they tell you to listen to the people, and I'm listening to the people, and I'm like, okay, these programs are going to be awesome because this is what's going on. Well, and then you put your stuff out and it doesn't show up the way that you desire it to. And then, the Lord sends you help, but you need things to move rapidly, but you're working with people who they don't have that same concept of rapidness, right? And you're like, what is going on? Well, that's been me. And truthfully, I've grown tired. I've grown weary. And I was just like, what am I doing this all for? Like, what is this really about? And I had a revelation. I had a revelation that what I was getting caught up into was me. How I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. And I had to take a moment and step outside of me and remind myself that this isn't about me. This is about what God has anointed me to do, how He's anointed me to show up, and what He's given me, and the fact that I'm able to help people, fix their vision and come up with a plan for their lives and watch them become successful in it has absolutely nothing to do with me. But yet I still felt the way I felt. Yet some days I still feel the way I feel. And so I wanted to just come and be open with you, just to let you know that I too get caught up. I don't care how much of a coach I am. Some coaches are not real. I'm just real about mine. I do, man, I'm putting this out, and, I've been sticking with this. I've been doing this since late 2017, 2018. And, I'm still only with, 10, sometimes no views. What is this all about? Like, what's happening? Like, God, you told me to show up, and I'm showing up, and I haven't quit. I felt it in my spirit. Haven't quit. You told me to be better in certain areas in my family, and I'm showing up, thinking that I'm better, and yet things are still crumbling and things still are falling apart. And then in the midst of all that, my uncle passed away, and it was just devastating because my aunt, who's one of my favorite aunts, the way he loved her was a love that I admired. It was so beautiful, and he was young, and he's only like 54, I think, or 55. And, so it was just the whirlwind and the chaos of lifing. And so I had to ask myself, what you gonna do? Are you gonna sit and wallow in it? are you going to do something that makes you feel better, that can help you so that you can help someone else? And in that, you know what I noticed? I wasn't having fun. I was just doing and going and doing and going. Listen to my words, doing and going, but I wasn't being. I wasn't being. And there's a part of my personality is alive all day, every day, twice on Sunday. Okay. I'm that girl, who loves to laugh and giggle and just love to have fun. And I got so caught up in the doing and the process and the strategies, all the things that are, listen, hear me, are crucial for growing a business. But there's also something that's crucial in growing the business, and that's having fun while you're growing the business. And that left me. So why am I sharing all this with you guys today? Because I want you to know that is so human as you are building, as you are becoming, as you are growing, as you are visualizing, as you are walking your path, that your God, I'm not here to tell you who that is. You believe in who you desire to believe in, right? But as you're walking that journey in that path, life is going to life. And it's going to cause you to question why you're doing it. It's going to cause you to question, are you worthy? It's going to cause you to question, who are you doing it for? Because the people don't even show up. It's going to cause you to question all of that. And this is the only time I do this one thing I'm about to tell you that I did. It's the only time I do it. But this is when you're going to have to look back. This is when you're going to have to look back and remind yourself of a time when you started from the bottom. Started from the bottom, now I'm here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team's here. Like, I had to go back and remind myself, I'm climbing a new mountain. This is a new mountain for me. So when I first started off in fitness, it was in 2010. And when I first started, I didn't have a bunch of people show up to my class. I had to build that thing. I had to build it to where I could have boot camps. I had to build it to where my classroom became packed out. I had to build it. I had to show up every single day. I had to wrestle with the inner me. I had to wrestle with lifing. In the midst of that, before I started fitness, I lost a son, but I had to bury another son in the midst of all of that. Burying two sons. I had to, in the midst of me growing, in the midst of me helping, in the midst of me serving, because it wasn't about me. But I had to go back, and this is exactly what I want you to do, and what I want to remind you of is go back to a time in your life. I want you to go back and think about a time in your life where you were at the bottom and what it took for you to get to the top. Because where you sit today may be that you're at the bottom of your next level, and that you're going to have these small reminders that you're just climbing another mountain. And I know if you're anything like me, honey, I don't feel like it. I've done the thing. I'm doing the thing. And I get it. And guess what? You want to still climb that mountain. And this is where you have to go back and write and look in your journal and say, why am I doing it though? I'm doing it because I've decided that I wanted to be my children's role model. I decided that I wanted to change the DNA legacy of my family. I decided that every generation that comes after me is going to know that they can make a different choice. That just because they may have started in the city, or they may have started on welfare, they may have started at the bottom of their company, that they too can win. They too can have success. They too can do it. And it started with me. It started with me taking a hold of my foundation, my firm foundation in my spiritual father, taking his hand and say, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it crying. I'm going to do it screaming. I'm going to do it when I think I'm not enough. I'm going to do it even though I think I'm not worthy. I'm going to keep going and going and going. But there's a way to do that Well, you can start having fun while you're doing it. Because if it just becomes mundane, if it just becomes yet another task, then you're not going to become successful in it. So that was my realization. So let me give you the steps that I took to help me get back on the fun side of this journey. And I'm only on the fun side of the journey. So what does that mean? That means, listen, whether or not another customer walks in my door, I've decided that I get to laugh at least once a day. That means whether or not anyone else signs up for my coaching program, I'm going to laugh every single day. That means that I've decided no matter how many times, if no one ever likes another video or a short that's put out, or no one ever on social media says, you know what, she's that girl, I'm going to keep going anyway. I made a decision. So I'm telling you, step one is I decided. I harness my power of choice and say, I get to do this differently. I don't have to do it the same anymore. And so what did that look like for me? Well, it's going to sound crazy, but I just started to have fun on TikTok. I just decided that I'm going to stitch videos. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to interact with strangers that I've never met. I'm going to laugh and I'm going to say the funny thing and I'm going to say the weird thing that makes me me. And I don't care when anybody thinks or says about it. I'm going to show up how I am. When my friends see me, they be like, yeah, here she come. Yeah, because we going to have a ball. Now, here's the thing. In that, I'm also the friend, because I am a vision strategist. That's a part of my being, right? I am the person that's going to help my friends see every bit of who they are really in this world. I'm going to help them see the bigness of them. And I also have to realize in that some of my friends are not ready for it. And sometimes they see me coming and they'll be like, oh God, here she go. I just want to laugh. And she wants to see the big picture and she wants to show me the big things. I realize that too. And that may mean that sometimes people don't want to be around. So I have to adjust, right? This is all the revelations of that first step of making a choice. Because when you decide, I want you to understand that there are good and bad consequences of the choice. But I have to be me. But I also have to read the room. Okay, so these are the revelations. Number one, I made a choice. Number two, I decided that I'm going to be honest with the people that really rock with me. I'm going to be honest with my spiritual friends that, help me see me when I can't see myself. How many of you do you know that every coach has a coach? And if they don't, I need for them not to be your coach. Okay, every coach has a mentor. And if they don't, I'm going to need for them not to be your coach. So I had to reach out to my people and be like, listen, this is really how I'm feeling. And I had to sit back, hear me, and allow myself to receive. Oh, hello, somebody. Allow myself to receive the things that I give. Because so many of you out here, the ones who live, you're givers, you're burnt out. Because all you do is give, but you haven't allowed yourself to receive. I had to allow myself to receive and listen and really hear what they had to say. And then step two was I had to pivot. I was pushing out a bunch of things and I'm like, you know what? No, I have to pivot right now. That's not this season. In this season, I have to come to know where I am and who I am so that I can put out what I need to put out. So I had to pivot. Step one, I made a choice. Step two, I pivoted. Step three, I got back in the lab and I decided, I'm going to rearrange how my programs are going to come out. And I'm actually going to shift and focus on some speaking events. So getting back into the lab, how do I want this to look? This is for my entrepreneurs. Sometimes you got to get back in the lab and say, okay, if this is not working, right, then I have to shift into something different. So I've decided to shift. And as a result of that shifting, I have two big speaking events coming up, and I am so excited about the one on May 19th. So if you are in Cincinnati, Ohio, or know of someone who is in Cincinnati, Ohio, we are coming. I feel like Coach Prime. We coming, baby. We are coming to Cincinnati, Ohio on May 19th. I'm super excited. It's going to be actually imprinted where I'm going to be in this video, as well as a link so you can subscribe to register. It's going to be the Velocity Summit. I am super excited about it because this is where God is calling me into. And so here's the thing. You got to know where you're being called into, because sometimes you may think you're being called into entrepreneur. So I'm an author, speaker, and a coach. Sometimes it's the season to write the book. Sometimes it's the season of the coaching clients, and sometimes it's the season of the speaking. You just have to know what season that you're in. Okay. And adjust accordingly instead of getting ready to do like I was about to do, which is throw it all away. I was like, listen, God, I'm about to throw it all away. I'm done. But I realized that I wasn't done. I was just going through change. I was experiencing change. And what was happening is I was being triggered to understand that I was experiencing change, and I was in survival mode, and I was reacting and I wasn't responding. Come on, somebody. This is what happens when we're experiencing change. When change comes, there can be anxiety, frustration, confusion, and that all leads to resistance. When the change happens, come on, somebody. When the change happens, that's exactly what happens to us. We start to feel these emotions. The emotions are coming up because it's like, okay, it's fear of the unknown. There was some comfort in the way I was operating, the way I was doing business before, that I have to leave, right? And it was perceived negative impact. But I wasn't aware that it was my emotions that were taking over in the first quarter. And so when the emotions happen and we look at it as an ending, instead of looking at it as a new beginning, there's a curve there. And underneath the curve, there's confusion, there's denial, there's frustration, there's anxiety, there's resistance, there's unsureness, there's skepticism, there's feeling like I want to give it all up. But I'm here to tell you that there is a upper quadrant of change, and it can be excitement, anticipation, creativity, innovation, right? When you look at it instead of as an ending, but a new beginning. And I wanted to come and be honest with y'all to say that I didn't catch that. I've done all this work. Oh, come on. This is what I have consumed all the content. I've done a lot of work. And yet and still I didn't recognize in this season that's what was happening to me. Because this season is new. Hear that. Because this season is new, and it may be new for you. And so some of the things that you learned and some of the things they may show up and you can't catch it. But I'm telling you this because I don't want you to make the same mistake I did and beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Understand that it's a new season. And so sometimes we know things, but we haven't quite yet put them into action. But when you do, when you catch it, that's when you can say, you know what, I recognize this. This is change. And yet, although there's some uncertainty here, I can get creative. And then here's the thing, I can anticipate this being the best season of my life, as opposed to being frustrated that things are not showing up the way I thought they should. And this is the time that God reminds us that we're not God. This is a time that we're reminded that life is always going to life, and that we never really had control to begin with. And all there is ever is uncertainty. So while we may feel that we have comfort with the status quo, we have comfort with some control, there was never any. And I can prove it to you because look at the weather. Child, this weather, if you on the East Coast, this weather, we go from feeling like summer one day to a slight spring to back to a winter, rain, sleet, snow, hail. It's crazy because there's never really any control, even within the season, because we're supposed to be officially in spring. But one day it feels like winter. One day it feels like summer. Another day it feels like spring. So I want you to know that the emotions that you are feeling are very human. And so I was telling you guys the 3 things that I did, right? I made a choice. I pivoted, right? And then I got back in the lab. But let's talk about, how I got a hold of those emotions. The very first thing I had to realize, I had to understand my BQ, which is your body quotient. And people don't know, right? BQ is so important because it's how you feel in your body. What is your body doing? It's about your overall well-being in physical health, right? What is your body? What are you feeling? What is your mental well-being? Where are you feeling that in your body? So I had to sit with myself. You hear me I don't care if you take 5 minutes, and moms, listen, I get it. We're busy. Okay. I'm not as busy as I used to be because my children are grown, but I understand what it's like to have a house full of kids and a husband, because I had all of the above at one point in time. And you still have to find 5 minutes, whether it's going in the bathroom when you're about to take a shower, just to say, where am I feeling this in my body? What is this emotion that's coming up? Do I feel it in my lower back? Am I feeling it in the back of my head? Am I feeling it in my knees? Some people have throbbing under their eyes. You know, where is this? Is it in my hands? Is it in my feet? Where am I feeling the emotion? What's coming up for me? Is this stress and anxiety about the past, me thinking that it's going to be how it was in the past? Or is it about, the future that hasn't even happened yet? What is this about? And how can I feel the best me possible in this moment, knowing that I have here and I have right now? The past is gone. It doesn't matter anymore. The future isn't here. All I have is right now in this moment. Can I put my hands over that space that I feel and breathe deeply in it? If it's in the back of my head, breathe deeply in it. All is well. I am safe. That's the first way, right? That I went from surviving in the emotion to thriving. The second thing I had to do was do mindful micro shifts. Now, what that looks like is, right, once I know where it is in my body, that's me harnessing the power of, I do 5-5-5. That means I take 5 minutes and do 5 deep inhalations, hold it for a count of 5, do 5 exhalations, push it out for a count of 5, and I do that for 5 minutes, right? A micro shift can look like if you're in the middle of a business meeting and they're saying something that's triggering you, is me finding a place or a space in the meeting where I can just shift my focus away from the person who is speaking and shift it to something else, just to give myself a moment of peace and clarity within myself to then come back to the person. It also, a micro shift can look like me, and I have a little mini trampoline in my house, jumping on the mini trampoline for 2 minutes. It could look like going for a 5-minute walk. It could look like just walking around for 5 minutes. It could look like a 5-minute jog. It's not about the time. It's about the shift. I'm going to take myself from feeling this emotion of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, feeling bombed out and tired, and shifting into another emotion of, but I have a minute right here, right now, that I can be the best that I can be in this moment. I can shift it. I don't have to stay there. I know that it looks bad right now. And I can shift it into, I am going to go into the highest version of myself in this moment. I'm going to micro shift this thing. And if I got to do it every 5 minutes until I feel better, then that's what I get to do, because I can have a better day. Why? Because not only do I choose to, I get to, but I'm blessed to. So I'm going to take this micro shift. Do you hear me? And then I'm going to fall into gratitude for the moment. Gratitude that I get another minute, another second, another day to make it be better, feel better, and have better. Okay? So that's the second thing. The third thing is I do this thing where I get on, it's an emotional intelligent feedback loop, right? So that's where I call on my friends and my trusted allies, right? And talk about what I'm feeling. Talk about the change and the triggers that's happened in me. But why am I talking to them? I'm getting their feedback because sometimes, do you know that sometimes somebody could have gone through the same thing that you've gone through? Hello, somebody, which is why I walked into being a coach, because there was no one who looked like me, who sounded like me, who spoke like me, who experienced what I experienced, that can help me shift my vision to becoming all the things that I am today and where I'm headed. There was nobody like me that can actually help me see the version of myself that was bigger than being on welfare, that was bigger than being a fighter, that was bigger than the person that was always hurt and feeling all sorts of trauma and therefore being in all sorts of drama. There was nobody who looked like me to say, you don't have to sit in that drama. You don't have to be about that drama. You can move from that. You can move from feeling like every man only wanted you from your body to understanding what real love is. Come on, somebody. So there was somebody, so when you get on that loop, right, it's you asking them, talking about what's happening with you, right, where they can see something in you. And then you can ask, how can I adjust my approach to this change? How can I see it differently? That's what it is. So that feedback loop, and this is why you got to do it with trusting people who are at the highest version of themselves, right? To do this, because when you do that, that's continuing learning and growth. I'm telling you, you don't always have to. And I love reading book. Actually, matter of fact, I'm reading this book right now, The Leadership Secrets of Jesus, by Mike Murdock. I read all the time. But there's something about also getting with a group of people. And this is why community is so important. This is why I wanted to start a community, because getting around a community of people who have experienced some things, but they've come out of it bigger and better, changes some things. So when you start to feel those things that you are feeling and having someone there to say, hey, listen, you are normal. This is normal. I didn't know some of the things that I was feeling was normal. I didn't know that when I was going through things, and even still sometimes with my adult children, that other people, it's normal. I had no idea. Sometimes you start to feeling like you're the worst parent on the planet until you realize that ain't the truth, Jesus. And again, I'm not here to tell you who to believe in. Who you believe in is solely up to you, but please don't miss the message. Some of these things were human. The doubt, the angst, the worry, human. This is a new season of my life. So guess what? I don't know anything in this season. I had to go back to being a student again. How many of you know that every time you walk into a new room, you have to go back to being a student? Because if you're always the teacher, then you can never learn. So that was the other thing about me now getting into another community. Because I was in a place where I was pouring out, but I wasn't being poured into.